What up, everybody? It's everyone's favorite day of the week, Friday, and everybody's favorite video to watch. Now, I'm just saying this based on my view count. Usually, the one day portraits have the most views, but that's okay. I like my portraits too. Anyway, I'm excited because this portrait is actually a commission that somebody wanted me to do, which I'm so happy to do because I love commissions because commissions mean money. I'm just playing. No, I actually really enjoy painting people's faces, and I especially enjoy painting people's faces in oil paint, more so than I do in acrylic. The only reason why I use acrylic in my videos is because acrylic is a lot cheaper to get, and cheap oil paint is not fun to work with. However, cheap acrylic is very doable. Anyway, this is just an 8x10 portrait. I guess this time I'm going to tell you guys some of the products I used. And of course my process. Of course I did my infamous underpainting that I love doing, and I've showed you guys 8 billion times. And I did it in acrylic paint, and I used Soho acrylics. That's the brand Soho. I don't know the actual company or whatever. I just know Soho is the name of the paint. And I use your basic colors. I use ultramarine blue, I use regular red and regular yellow, and I believe I used some raw umber. I think those are the colors I use. And then the oil paint I'm using is brands. Most of them are Winsor and Newton, which is one of my favorite brands to use because as far as I'm concerned, I know that it's vegan. And I use Lucas, which unfortunately isn't vegan, which is the only have one paint in that brand, which is white. As far as I know, it's not vegan because they use beeswax. So I probably won't buy it again, but it's okay. You use what you have at the time. So yeah, I really liked how this turned out, like a lot, and I'm very proud of myself because I feel like it looks better than the picture. There's one thing that I did learn from school. I know I say I don't necessarily need school anymore, but I am happy that I did get to experience a little bit of school because I did learn some things. And one thing that I did learn from my painting instructor was that you paint what you see, paint what you know, and some other shit. But the paint what you know part is the most important part because, it was paint what makes sense. And I use those two aspects, the paint what you know, paint what makes sense, because in this picture she has like two light sources. One light source coming where you see the yellow on her forehead is, and then another light source came from her other forehead. And I completely omitted that other light source on the other side of her forehead because it just did not look flattering to the final piece. And I'm so happy that I omitted it because it looks so much better. And I feel like it looks better than the painting. I feel like I gave her more life than the photo had because the photo was poor quality, especially how it looked when I printed it out on my printer. And I just really like it, and I really hope she likes it too when I mail it to her. And hopefully she watches this video and she likes the video and she likes the portrait. And yeah, so I'm just, I'm happy about it. I did run into some complications when I was painting her mouth. It was looking a little funky, wonky, and I had to fix that. But I ended up figuring that out in the end. And also, her hair didn't really have much from the picture that I saw. Her hair didn't have much highlight, but it's okay. It still looks good to me. And her necklace was a little bit challenging, but not that challenging. Sometimes you have to remember not to try to paint the object, but paint the shadows and highlights. And when I say that, I mean like a lot of people get so caught up in what they're actually painting that they start making stuff up in their head subconsciously. I see it all the time, especially when I was in art classes. And a lot of people are like, Ayana, how do you paint this, that, and the other so well and it looks so real or whatever? And I say it's because I don't paint what I'm painting, I paint what I see. So a lot of people will try to paint a nose and they start to forget about the picture, and they start in the shadows and the highlights, and they start painting whatever the hell they think a nose looks. And you know what, which your nose is right too, but that's not the nose that you're painting, if that makes any sense to you guys. Anyway, that's just a little bit of artist pointer guide, whatever. And yeah, I really like painting in oil, like I said before. And the reason why I like painting in oil is because the medium of oil is so great when you're trying to paint faces for portraits, because it blends very beautifully. And I know you can do or have the same effect with acrylic, but you have to add mediums to it. And I don't want to buy a medium just to get the acrylic to dry slower. And also acrylic is not as opaque as oil, so you're going to have to build up on layers, and sometimes you just want to put down one layer and that'll be the final layer, you know. That's just how I feel sometimes, and that's what I can do with oil paint. So, and it blends beautifully, like I said. So when you want a really smooth texture of the skin, you can easily do that using oil paint and a brush, and it just looks very nice. And I'm not huge on blending a lot, however, I do like the way oil paint blends without it being airbrush. See, I don't like airbrush look, but a smooth look is nice, and that's what I really appreciate about oil. I also appreciate that you can mix lights and darks with no problem, and it still looks pretty good. Usually with oil paint, you actually work from dark to lightest, which is kind of what I do. It's just not exactly that way. I just avoid using whites until the very end. As you saw throughout this process, you probably noticed that I didn't use white until I was completely sure about every color that I had down, and then I started adding in some whites to establish the highlights. Same thing with the shirt, except for the color of the shirt was like a pink, so I had to add white, of course, for the pink, but I didn't add highlights until after I established the shadows. So that's just how you go about it. And sometimes with oil paint, you do have to, the cons of oil paint is you do have to sometimes wait for it to completely dry before you can go on to the next layer, and that's what I had to do throughout this painting. The first half, I had to wait for that to dry before I finished the next half. But anyway, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week for some more videos. Bye!